10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 496. Before we get into this week's episode, just a reminder that, as always, there's a video version of what you're about to listen to on my YouTube channel. So if you want to see any visual references of anything that's going on, just go on YouTube, search for my name, Nick Manella, and it should be the latest video on the channel. Hey everybody, welcome back to part 3 in our series on giant steps. So over the first 2 episodes, we took a look at some voice leading principles and some really basic ways to spend some time with this intimidating progression to make it a little bit less intimidating, help you to hear it, and help you to find your path through those changes using really simple devices. So if you're just joining me on this video and you haven't seen those other 2, highly suggest checking those out, because those skills really build on each other and multiply and bring us to where we are today. But if you're ready for this week's, let's jump into it. Before we start, just wanted to mention that anything that I put on screen in terms of examples, any recordings that I play, they're all going to be available to people who choose to support this channel in the form of a small monthly donation. And I'll leave a link in the description and maybe a pinned comment on how you can go over and start supporting us and get all of these materials from this week's episode, and which is going to allow you to start practicing this stuff just right away and start doing the work so that you can play over this tune. Okay, so in episode 1, we started by playing through the progression in half notes using chord tones. And then last week, we talked about playing through the progression using quarter notes. So now a lot of things open up to us. And of course, there's infinite ways to work on this tune, but I'm going to use the last 2 episodes in this month to provide you with 2 really specific ways that I like to work on this tune. And today concerns using triads. Triads are so wonderful, especially over a tune like this, because they're so clear. The clearest way to outline a tonality in just a couple of notes, 3 to be exact, is to play a triad. And we could hear this clarity very readily just by simply playing some triads. So if I were to do this, it's immediately evident that I'm playing major triads around the circle of fourths. If I were to do this, again, it's really immediately evident. Oh, okay, we're outlining minor and we're moving in half steps. So that's the power of a triad. It's also very simple. All right, so if triads are powerful and giant steps is moving through a whole bunch of keys, then the advantage to using triads over giant steps is that we're very clearly going to outline the harmony. And again, this is going to go into really embedding the sound of that harmony into our ears. And this one is really going to start you down the path of really getting some improvisation chops together. And if you don't think that just triads will sound good over this tune, I've written a little etude for you that uses exclusively triads that I think sounds pretty cool. Okay, but the first thing we should do is probably some pattern work with triads. The first thing I recommend is just very simply playing a triad in a certain way and then doing that over every single chord. So if we start from the simplest way, it would be to play a triad ascending, starting from the root over every chord. So this is very different from what we did in the previous 2 episodes where we were really concerned about voice leading. This is much more concerned with clarity. You could hear I played that no backing track, no accompaniment whatsoever. And it's the clearest exercise that we've done yet because we're just simply outlining the triad over each chord. Now, that one, not super interesting, but I think it's a requirement. Obviously, you need to be able to do all those root position triads and not make any mistakes and be solid on that before you can go on and manipulate them in any other way. But my big suggestion is to get through that initial exercise first. Make sure you can do that, because then the possibilities start to really, really explode with what we can do with triads. So think about a couple of things. You could do root position, first inversion, and second inversion. So you're challenging yourself to start on the root, you're challenging yourself to start on the third and the fifth. That would open up so many doors for you on this tune in terms of flexibility and navigating your way from chord to chord, but with a simple device. Then you could expand that out to seventh chords, you could incorporate scales, all that good stuff. Now, on top of doing things in all the different inversions, we could also play with the direction that we move. So we were starting on the root, going up, straight up the triad. What if I were to take the triad, put it in first inversion? So I'm starting on the third, but I'm gonna go down to the root and then come up to the fifth. Now that would certainly be a much more challenging exercise, but it also sounds a lot more interesting. Now, these two examples are just a couple of possibilities of an endless string of ideas that you could use. Let's do one final example. What if we were to combine the two exercises? So I'm always going to go back and forth between root position going up and then first inversion going down, up. Can you see the possibilities there? And also, this does start to concern itself with voice leading, because we start to see when we're doing these different patterns with triads, how many of the notes do actually connect to each other or are really close to each other. And the more possibilities with the triads that we practice, the more embedded those connections become in our ears and in our minds and under our fingers. And what I would suggest is that after you work on maybe one triadic pattern per day, then what you want to do is you want to jump into the form and you want to practice improvising using only triads, because that's really where the work is going to start to take on a different form, where you're going to start to be able to be creative with it, and you're going to start to be able to think and act in the moment over this tune. And like I said at the beginning, if you don't think triads can sound interesting, I really urge you to reconsider that and see what you can do with the triads to make them more interesting. Because a simple device like a triad, when put in the hands of somebody who really knows what they're doing, they could keep you entertained just using triads all day over a tune like this. So what I've done for everybody this week is I've prepared a little 2-chorus etude that just uses triads, nothing else. And is this going to win any awards for the most creative thing that's ever been played? Of course not. But I hope you can see that the possibilities are really there. Okay, so there you have it, just triads. So you get that etude if you want to study it and see some of the things that I was doing with triads that maybe could inspire some of your work with triads. And then finally what I'm going to do is I'm also going to give you some trading tracks where we trade choruses using triads only. So you're really just going to be this week overloading yourself with triadic work over giant steps. And I think if you stick to it for a week and you really, really practice this stuff every day, you're really going to surprise yourself with how much fluency you gain on this. You might even be ready to go out and play it in front of people or with friends, maybe at a slow tempo. But this stuff really has a way of ramping up quickly as you consistently practice it. And the more comfortable you are with all those interesting shapes of triads, the more interesting it becomes. Okay, so if you want to get your hands on all those things that I just mentioned, check out the link in the description. Come over, get signed up for Jazz School. That's totally free. And then you can decide whether you want to support the channel or not. And I really appreciate anybody that chooses to do that. We've got a lot of members that are supporting us, and it means the world to me. And they're really enjoying the materials. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to leave off by playing a couple of trading choruses. So if you've got your instrument, join me. I'll play a chorus, then I'll leave one open for you. Triads only. And if you want to get the longer track where we do a lot more choruses, again, come and join us. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thanks for hanging, and we will see you next week with another video. Bye, everybody.